Aloha, my name is Keli Kalau Masao Grassman. I was born in the island of Maui in Wailuku. I lived there for up until I was about 2.5, 3 years old, and then my family had relocated to Kohala, Hawaii in the Ahupua of Kokuiki, which is about 1.5 miles mauka of where King Kamehameha was born. The history of hula within my family starts about over 100 years ago with my great-grandmother, Tutu Margaret Kalaukoa. And Tutu Margaret, she was lawehanai, taken at birth as soon as she was born by her kumuhula. And one of her kumuhula was Liki Ekela, who was famous during the time of Kalakaua as a chanter. And my grandmother was fortunate enough to have danced for Kalakaua in person. My great-grandmother was lawehanai because she was kapu and raised in a hula kapu tradition, meaning she was sacred, and the hula she did were extremely sacred. So that entailed her being raised separately and not interacting with anyone that was not part of hula because she needed to protect the mana of hula. So it started with her. Then when she got older, she continued on her hula and she moved to Lahaina. And from there, she opened up a halau in Lahaina in the forest of Honokohau. And the reason why she had her halau in the forest was like how she was raised. She needed to protect the mana of the hula. So her halau was separate. And her halau was in a traditional sense where you couldn't ask to join her school. She had to seek you out and select you personally. And my great-grandmother had many children, and fortunately my grandfather was the one that was selected out of all of his brothers and sisters, and his kuleana was to learn the hula. So he was the only child that went to her halau in the forest and learned the traditions and hula. Then he continued that on and taught it to my mother and her siblings. And my mother had learned and trained in the hula. And when she was pregnant with myself, she was still dancing. So my hula started in the stomach of my mother. So my history started in the stomach of my mother with her movement. When she gave birth, I would watch her dance and practice and would just imitate her, not really fully understanding because I was a young child. Not until I was about in elementary school did she start training me fully in the hula, and she was a very strict teacher. She taught me kahiko, hula kahiko, not too much of hula wana because it wasn't sacred, but she also taught me oli, Hawaiian history, genealogy, the mokuahau, as well as to ho'opa'a and mekle, as well as costuming for the hula. So everything that encompasses hula. And she was a very strict teacher who made sure that we chanted perfectly, we did our motions perfectly and executed them very well. If not, we would always have to repeat and until it was perfect. And so she started with that. My training started with my mother. So at the age of 14, I applied and I was accepted into Kamehameha Schools, Hawaii in Kia'ao. I was actually the first of my family to attend Kamehameha School, so it was a very big deal, not just for me personally, but for my entire ohana that I was accepted into Kamehameha Schools. I continued the hula, and my mother wanted me to experience dancing in a halau that's outside of the family. And so I chose to dance with Kumu Hula Ray Fonseca, and I danced with him. With Kumu Ray, I was very extremely lucky because even though it was my first time at Mary Monarch, he trusted me by putting me in the front row and dancing in the front line at the Mary Monarch. And with that experience, I learned to completely trust upon my teacher as well as my hula family, because it takes a great effort to dance in a Merry Monarch in a competition. And so I had to learn how to depend on people that wasn't in my family. It's easy to trust your family, but it's more difficult to have to trust people that are new to you. From there, I actually graduated from Kamehameha schools just a few months after I danced Merry Monarch, and a few months later from there on, Kumu Ray Fonseca had invited just a select few of us to travel to Japan and to perform at the National Theater in Tokyo. There's two reasons why it was a big deal for me. One was I know that hula was popular in Japan, but it was very important for me to see how popular it was for the first time. And the second reasoning was because it was the National Theater, and the National Theater is only for culture and anything related to culture, specifically Japanese culture. So for a Hawaiian halau to be allowed to dance on the National Theater and to be selected to be able to dance there, you're overcome with honest because the honor to be able to dance on a stage that most Japanese are not able to dance on that stage. So that was important for me, and from there it was actually where I started my relationship with the Hula Japan Cultural Association, and I met Mr. Honda there, the chairman. A few months after that, unfortunately, Kumu Ray Fonseca had passed away, and that was a big deal for all of us, especially for me. So from there, I took a little break, and then one day, a singer, Kamakaiwa Kanaka Ole, had asked me, "Oh, would you try coming to my family halau and practicing and dancing?" And I did, and that halau was halau kikuhi, and I had danced with them for about 5 years, and with them I was also able to dance in the Merry Monarch again, but this time it was the hoike night, the non-competition night. What was special about this hoike, it was the 50th Merry Monarch hoike, and I was a young member in halau kikuhi, and I was able to dance next to original members of halau kikuhi who started with Auntie Edith Kanaka-Ole. And so one great thing that I took from halau kikuhi was their commitment to their family style. So I was raised with my family style and my family culture and traditions, which it might be different from other, but halau kikuhi, they're a family and it's run by a family, and they continue to their tradition. So I felt completely comfortable in that halau because it was very similar to my upbringing in hula. So after I graduated Kamehameha schools, I went on and attended the University of Hawaii at Hilo. I majored in Hawaiian Studies, Ha'awina Hawaii, with an emphasis in the performing arts. I was lucky to attend that university because my teachers are held in very high regard in the Hawaiian community, such as Kumu Kalena Silva, who was my Hawaiian hula teacher. He was my hula teacher, my oli teacher, and he's also a Merry Monarch judge, as well as Larry Kimura, who is a well-known composer and a leader in the Hawaiian revitalization movement, alongside Professor Pila Wilson and his wife Kawanwan. I graduated in 4 years with the Hawaiian Studies major. Because my grandmother is Japanese, I was raised with the desire to learn more about the Japanese language and culture. And because of that, when I was attending the University of Hawaii at Hilo, I would take Japanese language courses on the side, such as Japanese language, Japanese history. The one class that resounded deeply within me was the Japanese performing arts. And I learned no, kyogen, bunraku, kabuki, ongaku, the various forms of traditional Japanese theater and dance and music. And from that, I hope to tie it to my Hawaiian identity, specifically the hula, in order to create kind of a new hula that blends well with the Japanese and Hawaiian identity within me, as well as with the Japanese and Hawaiian identity found throughout the hula world. So after I graduated at the University of Hawaii at Hilo, I had an overwhelming desire to return back to my alma mater, Kamehameha Schools, Hawaii, and teach there. And so I was lucky to have been offered a position to teach at Kamehameha Schools. And so some of the subjects I've taught are the language, Hawaiian language, hula kahiko, hula awana, oli, Hawaiian literature, Hawaiian ceremonies and rituals. So I have many projects throughout the year. And so the first major project of the year is the makahiki ceremony. And one of the great things about that is that I'm allowed and able to teach hula to the entire high school student body, which means teaching hula to over 500 students. So even though a student might not take my class, I still have taught every student at Kamehameha Schools. My second project is the hula at the Founders Day on the birthday of our founder, Keli'i Poahi Bishop. And so our students, I select just a small number of students, and we do a mele that honors Poahi or perhaps one of her family members. The third project is our annual ho'ike, which is a musical or a play. Sometimes it's an opera. And for that project, I'm the head choreographer. And then I also teach and guide the students during our May Day competition, as well as the hula for our graduation. The two biggest projects that I'm most fulfilled by is the makahiki and ho'ike. Makahiki because, like I said before, I teach every student, but we also teach the kids ceremony and very traditional things, so the students know about our traditional history, rituals, and past. And for the ho'ike, why that is also important to me is because we are portraying a story, but we get to be creative at the same time. We're able to take traditional culture and hula and blend it with Western forms of entertainment such as drama and music, and we create a new story. We're telling those old story, but we're adding new things to it. So with the makahiki, we can practice our tradition. With the ho'ike, we can continue tradition and help it to evolve. And so for the ho'ike, in August 2016, we took 20 students to Scotland to perform at the Festival Fringe. And to be able to perform for the Festival Fringe is a really important and extremely special privilege of ours, because we are one school amongst 40 top high schools throughout the United States of America to be selected. And when we went to Scotland, we performed an opera in the Hawaiian language, and it was the only performance in Scotland at the Festival Fringe where someone performed it outside of English. And we portrayed the stories and legends of our own history and past. And because of that, we were followed and interviewed by various magazines. Following year, we were invited to perform our opera at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center for one last time. And that has been my greatest project so far. With my goal with Kamehameha students is to not just teach hula and language and culture, but to help them grow in their Hawaiian identity, so that when they go, no matter where they go in the world, they know full well of who they are as a Hawaiian and where they will go. So I hope to inspire confidence amongst the keiki of Hawaii and the haumana, that when they go around the world, that they have a great self-respect for themselves, that they can accomplish anything, knowing that they are also Hawaiian. Hula is like the language, the cord that binds us to our identity. It binds us to our past, but also links us to our future. So hula encompasses every part of being a Hawaiian, whether it's the spiritual aspect, the language and cultural aspect, or even the how to be a Hawaiian. And so hula to me is to be Hawaiian. And to disregard hula is to disregard who you are as a person. And so hula is not just a philosophy, it's not a tangible thing. It's the spirit that's found within Hawaii and spirit that's found within Hawaiians.